And the person with that dog can say, my dog ate nothing but Purina, got a rare form of cancer, the food made him have cancer. And I can print that out, put it on Yelp or whatever you want to put them on, and the next person says, well, boy, I had a dog that ate Purina and died of kidney failure when he was 10. It had to be the Purina. So then you have this massive growing spider web of information that is just not based in fact. And I will tell you this, there are a ton of high quality dog food companies in this country. Mm-hmm. I would also say that my recommendation is to feed your dog a name brand food.
Okay.
Now, could it be Purina? Sure it could. Could it be Eukanuba? Sure it could. Could it be Lyme? Sure. All those are high quality foods or high quality companies that are testing their food to a degree that human food isn't tested.
Oh, okay.
So you have to understand that these big companies have so much research that goes into their food. The chances of them making a mistake with their food are almost zero.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's zero,
sure,
but it's almost. You have a higher rate of problems with smaller companies. And the reason is they don't have the financial resources to do all the testing that they need to all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that all the small food companies are bad. All I'm saying is if you say a name that you recognize, if a client says, I'm feeding my dog Hills, it's good food. I know it is. Do I feed my dog Hills? No, but it's a good food. Mm-hmm. Eukanuba, it's good food. Purina, it's a good food. There is a high profit margin in dog food. So everybody and their brother wants to make dog food.
Okay.
So what happens is you get some of these smaller companies, and again, I don't want anybody to freak out. It doesn't mean all small companies don't test their food good.
Right.
But if you look at there is more problems with smaller food companies, quality control in their food than the big boys.
Okay.
So I don't care what's on the internet. I feed my dog Purina. I'm not advertising for Purina. I don't care what you feed your dog. If it's a high quality food from a company that when you tell me the name, I recognize it. If you tell me some crazy name made in California or who knows where, could it be good? Sure it could. Could be great. But I don't have the experience with it to know for sure that it is.
Okay.
So there's just so much information out there that this food has done this or this food has done this. And the vast majority of it is not true or proven.
Are the dog food companies governed or patrolled by something?
Oh, yes. And that's why I say their food, the food production facilities that make dog food are as regulated as human food.
Okay.
I mean, it's incredible. And there have to be nutritional guidelines, all those things, controls, testing on every batch. That's why the chances of a big company letting a mistake get through the system are almost zero. Not saying it's zero, but it's close.
Is it important, in your opinion, and I guess that's what we're going to base this on, is it important to buy American-made dog food, or do other countries follow those same rules and guidelines?
Some do, some don't. I would buy American-made dog food.
Okay.
Same with treats. Mm-hmm. Some countries don't regulate it as well as our country does. I will also say this on dog food, is that you don't need a different dog food for every year your dog lives. There's a lot of a fad right now is grain-free or organic this and all that stuff. It's all marketing. Your dog doesn't need grain-free food. Your dog doesn't need organic food. If you want to feed him that, more power to you. But a lot of people bite on the next advertisement rage that says, oh, my dog will live 3 more years if I feed it organic food. No, it won't. So a lot of these things are just advertising ploys. For instance, certain food for certain age. Every puppy needs puppy food, that's true. But just because your dog turns 5 doesn't mean it should be on a different food because it's 5.
Okay.
Your veterinarian can guide you as to age stages of dog food. But a lot of the average, again, if you think there's a high profit margin with food, with dog food, the companies will darn near say anything to get you to switch to their food.
Right.
So take what they tell you with a grain of salt. If your dog's done good on IMS for 10 years, don't switch. It's doing good. Mm-hmm. If your dog's done good on Eukanuba for 10 years, why switch? It's just a lot of hype. And I think if you stick with the bigger companies, you're better off.
Especially on the weekends on talk radio, it seems like you hear 1 or 2 dog supplements advertised. And I don't want to mention their name for different reasons, but they make claims of his hair is softer, he was losing his hair, scratching all the time, now he is no longer doing that. When you hear claims like that, should you take that to the vet as far as, I heard the commercial for product XYZ, can you tell me about that product? Or if you don't know, how can I find out? Or is it just all pretty much hooey? Is it something your vet has the same access to, just by a different name?
That is generally the case. I will say this, a high quality dog food has every conceivable micronutrient your dog would need.
Okay.
So you can give them all the supplements in the world, and it's going to go in one end and out the other. It's just like in a person, if they have a nutritionally balanced diet and they take 10 different vitamins, is it going to hurt them? No. It's just going to go in one end and out the other. So if you're feeding a high quality food, there are some supplements, fatty acid supplements, and some things that your veterinarian can direct you to. But the vast majority of dogs without a medical issue, a supplement doesn't help. They're getting everything they need from their food.
Okay.
And that is the same story in people too. If you have a well-balanced diet, all the vitamins in the world, are they going to help you much? Probably not. Okay. So I would use your veterinarian as the resource to direct you to a supplement that maybe you do need.
Yeah. So really, if you read something on the internet, hear it on the radio, if you are not sure, don't just venture into it. Talk to your vet first to find out if they know anything, because you guys get trade magazines and everything else. You're probably going to get the straight scoop on a particular product or a manufacturer.
We all get a tremendous amount of journals. We all get a tremendous amount of updates that come out before the media has these things. If there is a problem with the food, we're going to know before TV does or radio does.
Right.
So ask your veterinarian if these things are true or if it's just news people talking. But we get all that information way ahead of time.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into something we've talked about before as far as medication. Trying to buy medication from places online or different things like that, where some of them probably are reputable, but you really have to be careful and do your research, because you may be getting outdated medicine, or you may be getting discontinued medicine that maybe was found to cause some problems. Whereas if you can go and buy directly from your veterinarian, they're going to have the most current stuff, the most up-to-date stuff. It's going to be, what is recommended by the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and most of the pharmacies that you can get things at are reputable, and they do a good job. But there are some that you never know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. So I would also say veterinarians in this area, you are not going to save a lot of money buying them from the internet. We're just, as a group in this area, we're not real expensive.
Yeah.
So chances are you're going to get the same or better product for the same amount of money that you could get it getting shipped in from California, where who knows what it is. So right. I'm not saying that's always the case, but the vast majority of the time your veterinarian is going to steer you straight.
Yeah, and the bottom line too is when that medicine, they have an allergic reaction or it goes bad, you're not going to call the company in California.
Exactly.
You're going to call your veterinarian and say, "Oh, what happened?"
Exactly.
And you guys, it's helpful if you know what they've taken and what they've got.
Precisely.
So, all right. Well, last topic on the list is puppies and parvo, and it's sort of, I guess we've kind of come full circle, because when we talk about vaccinations and preventativeness, parvo is one of those things you really need to prevent against.
And it's easy to prevent against it. And it's a common problem. It's easy to prevent with some routine, not real expensive vaccines. And the problem that we see is a client gets a puppy, and the puppy has had, let's say, one vaccine before they got it, either from a veterinarian or a breeder, and their thought is the puppy's been vaccinated. Well, yeah, it's been vaccinated one time, but that one vaccine is not complete immunity.
Okay.
So what happens is that puppy got a vaccine at 8 weeks old. Great. It needs one at 11 or 12 weeks old too. They don't get subsequent vaccines, then they're 5 months old and they get exposed to parvo, and they're very susceptible to it. And the client thinks, well, how can that be? It had its vaccine. Well, it had one vaccine. So it's important when you get that new puppy, no matter what's been done or not done, go to your veterinarian. They will teach you and show you what series of shots that puppy needs to prevent parvo. And it's amazing. We talked about parvo, I don't know how many times, tons and tons of times. Every year we see a ton of parvo. Why? Puppies aren't getting vaccinated.
Okay.
So a lot of people are missing that because they think that puppy had a vaccine, which it did, but not enough.
Mm-hmm. And parvo isn't just a problem for your puppy. It's a problem for any puppy that this puppy might come in contact with, right? It's
extremely contagious. In fact, people can carry parvo on their hands, pet your puppy, and your puppy can get parvo without ever being around a dog that had parvo.
Wow.
It's that contagious.
Okay.
So it's amazing how you'll go through a period of time where you see no parvo, then all of a sudden you see 4, 5, 6 cases all of a sudden. Well, it's contagious. I'd worry more about parvo than flu.
Okay.
Because it's a killer and it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of very useful information, and if you missed anything that we've talked about here on the program, certainly you can feel free to contact your veterinarian, or you may certainly contact this fella on my right, Dr. Mark Iacopero at the Worcester Animal Clinic. You can call him at 330-262-3336, or you may reach them online at the WorcesterAnimalClinic.com. And Mark, I know we're getting into warmer weather, and that can bring up a whole list of other issues and problems, especially when you have your pet outside. And I know you're a huge fan of making sure that you have, as you said at the dog park, have control over your pet when they're outside, because squirrels, rabbits, anything like that, they can take off, run out in front of a car and get hit. Just a lot easier to constrain them. Yeah,
and everybody feels bad when their dog's on a leash, but boy, does it save you a lot of aggravation, from bites to fights to running off to getting hit by a car. Stay with the leash. Yeah, unless you've got a fenced-in area where they can run and do the things that dogs like to do. So, Mark, we thank you very much for coming on tonight. A lot of useful information. And again, if you have any questions, give them a call, 330-262-3336.